Welcome to FRCMedia News for Thursday, July 22nd, 2021. I'm Keith Tebow. City residents chime in on how they would like to see the city spend federal COVID relief funds. Is Fall River better served by having one congressman or two? And a local veteran gets a welcomed gift from his brothers and sisters in arms. All this and more coming up. The task force established by Mayor Paul Coogan to make recommendations on how to spend $69 million in federal money from the American Rescue Plan Act held a public meeting this week seeking residents' input on how best to spend the money. Many of the suggestions from residents were targeted to specific causes. Kathy Castro of the Fall River Arts and Culture Coalition feels the city should capitalize on the growing arts and culture scene.
In Massachusetts, cultural nonprofits support more than 73,000 full-time jobs, generate over $2.38 million in total spending, and bring in nearly $100 million in state tax revenues. In 2018, there were more than 21 million attendees for an art and cultural event in the greater Boston area, which is more than 4 times that for all major sporting events combined. Not only are the arts and cultural organizations in Fall River of primary importance, I would say they are the future of the city. So we ask for your support for them.
Alexander Silva is looking for the city to use the funds for the general benefit of all residents.
Some ideas of this could be, I was going to say sidewalk and street improvements designed to expand outdoor dining for restaurants and businesses, particularly North Main Street, South Main Street, and Pleasant Street come to mind. But with the sewer infrastructure, that could easily be paired with it by adding open space or just reconfiguring existing sidewalks and streets above it after the work is done. The city could purchase new city trolleys to expand resident access to city events and reduce traffic congestion during those events. This would also provide revenue opportunities for additional revenue by renting it out to other events and other organizations, private and such. Improvements to park infrastructure to support and enhance community events would be a very good and wise place, especially since parks generally are stretched for their funding sources.
Local attorney Raina Brown says local nonprofits on the front lines of helping those in need would benefit greatly from an infusion of funds.
Nonprofits are funded by donations, and almost all the nonprofits that I've either served on the board for or wish I could serve on the board for couldn't have their fundraisers in 2020. And without funding, they can't offer the services that they've offered the last few decades. You know, a lot of our great nonprofits in the city, Townhouse, Star, Stepping Stone, the Vet's Kitchen, there's a ton of them in the city. And I want to talk about not just the nonprofits that are 501c qualified, but there's grassroots nonprofits that don't have the funding to become 501c3. It takes a lot of money to become a 501c3. I'm talking about some of the grassroots nonprofits haven't been able to get funding.
Among the suggestions from Chris Aguiar is using funds to help the homeless and struggling families get back on their feet.
With plenty homeless, and they tell me that they're willing to work. They can't get jobs, they can't get IDs, that's another thing, IDs. Give them the post office as an address. They can't get an ID because they don't have an address. If we create a program like they have in California, I was looking it up, it's a work for housing program. You give them city jobs, they go out, they clean the neighborhood, whatever it is, you get them, and then they have a place to stay. That we'd get them off the corners. The city we wouldn't have all this negative feedback, people driving by and making fun of us and saying we're a dump. And that's what we have right now is people looking down on the city. So
Nelson put the importance of this unique situation into perspective.
Hard decisions are going to have to come down pretty soon. And the direction we take this year is going to make or break the city for the next 3 to 4 years. Which is why it's so imperative to get this spending right with this money. Because this money was given to us in a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity through a different set of circumstances. And if we make this investment wrong, it's going to cost us. So this November, the public's input will be coming. And I think my solution is very simple. There should be no rush to spending these funds, and let the real public input, the voters of who they want in the 6th floor, to make those decisions. Because the one thing we don't want to do is just rush, spend his money, and not spend it wisely.
Mayor Coogan tells us there's no time frame by which the task force will make ARPA spending recommendations.
I thought it was a very thoughtful, well-attended meeting. We're going to do another one. We're just trying to put something together now. But the public came prepared to offer ideas on how the money should best be used. We had 3 members of the council there. There was a broad cross-section of Fall River. Obviously, some people were looking for funds for their programs, but at the same time, it was a great first step on a roadmap of how best to use these funds to help everybody in Fall River. People were respectful. They were on point. One of the reporters commented to me that they liked seeing a meeting like that in Fall River, because sometimes meetings get a little unruly, and they were proud of the way everybody conducted themselves.
Unemployment in the city of Fall River rose for the month of June. The jobless rate sits at 8.2%, up from 7.8% in May. 1 year ago, the unemployment rate in Fall River was at 19.9%. Fall River suburbs and local gateway cities also saw jobless rate increases. The state's unemployment rate for June is at 4.9%. Wednesday was the last day for potential candidates in this year's city election to take out nomination papers. Here's a list of those individuals who have shown interest in running. Mayor Paul Coogan is seeking a second term in office. He'll be challenged by Jonathan Alberniz, City Council President Cliff Ponte, Jordan Sylvia, and Michael Vandal. On the school committee, 3 incumbents are seeking re-election: Kevin Aguiar, Paul Hart, and Mimi Larrabee. Incumbents Mark Costa, Tom Corey, and Joshua Hetzler are not seeking re-election. Other candidates for school committee may include Bobby Bailey, Charles Chase, Colin Dias, Melissa Doyle, John Koleski, Mark Mollicone, Shelley Pereira, Eric Pullen, and Sarah Rodricks. The 8 remaining incumbents for City Council are seeking re-election: Sean Kadim, Michelle Dion, Brad Kilby, Pam La Liberty LeBeau, Trot Lee, Christopher Peckham, Leo Pelletier, and Linda Pereira. They'll be challenged by Gabriel Amaral, Paulo Amaral, Emmanuel Barros, Joseph Camara, Andrew Govea, Angel Patoya, Andrew Raposo, Alexander Silva, Matthew Springer, Ricky Tith, Chris-Ann Tyrell, and Laura Jean Washington. Completed nomination papers need to be returned to the election office by 5 p.m. tomorrow, July 23rd. A preliminary election will be held September 21st, with the city election on Tuesday, November 2nd. Here's an update now on the distribution of the COVID-19 vaccine in Fall River. 52%, or 46,058 city residents, have received at least 1 dose of the vaccine, while 41,814, or 47% of city residents, are fully vaccinated. An update is expected later today. Get the latest on frmedia.org/COVID vaccine. Once again, the easiest way to find out where to get the vaccine in Fall River is through the city's vaccination webpage at frvax.com or by calling 833-8VAX-NOW or 833-882-9669. You can also visit the state's webpage at vaxfinder.mass.gov. You can also dial 211. The City of Fall River is providing $1.5 million in federal CARES Act funding to help city residents struggling with paying rent due to the circumstances caused by COVID-19. The city will be enlisting the services of Catholic Social Services in the intake of inquiries and the distribution of funds for local rental assistance cases. The rental assistance funds can help renters pay for up to 6 months of back rent, as well as help those who are homeless find and pay for housing. Catholic Social Services Program Coordinator Sheila Chassie says anyone facing difficulties paying rent should not delay in seeking assistance by calling 774-520-2555. All services are free. Calls will be returned within 24 to 48 hours.
The goal is to keep people housed, prevent people from losing their housing. we do ask landlords and homeowners in the community to please have patience. This pandemic has impacted the community significantly. We're seeing an influx of calls daily, and it's concerning. But this is what these grants are here to do. They're here to help the community, to help the homeowners, to help the renters and families in need. We understand that landlords are just as nervous and have been impacted as the renters. So this grant is not only just for people that are in need of the assistance, it's to support the landlords so they can pay their mortgages, so they can continue with rental income, so they can keep their tenants. The last thing we want to see is a flux of people, individuals and families in the community that are homeless.
Residents who have been unable to pay rent due to the pandemic have been protected from eviction through a federal moratorium, which is slated to expire on July 31st. Chassie says, along with rental support, Catholic Social Services can also help people better handle difficult financial circumstances.
Along with that rental assistance will come wraparound services. So what I mean by that is budget financial management, visiting, somebody needs to get back to work and they need child care services. So that's a referral out to receive child care assistance, or employment searches, employment resume writing. We have a full team of wraparound services within Catholic Social Services and within the community. We often work with Sir Jobs for Progress. We refer families and individuals to MassHire. So there's a bunch of services in the community and we work directly with them.
Also available for those facing eviction are the free services of South Coastal County's Legal Services, who will play a role in mediating disputes between renters and landlords.
The important thing is trying to get help. We have strategic partnerships throughout the community where we've been receiving referrals, and that's been working out wonderfully. But there's always people who are not being referred to our services, and there's always people who just don't know about our services. What we do is we'll assist people from the notice to quit stage all the way through final judgment. Sometimes this involves going to mediation, trying to negotiate on behalf of the clients. Sometimes this means taking a case to trial and trying to work on behalf of the clients in their best interest as well.
Hildegard Camara, co-conspirator with former Fall River Mayor Jasiel Correia in the extortion of potential recreational marijuana vendors, will not receive jail time following his sentencing this week at U.S. District Court in Boston. Judge Douglas Woodlock sentenced Camara to 3 years of probation. The first 18 months will be under home confinement. Judge Woodlock also sentenced Camara, the former head of the Bristol County Training Consortium, to complete 450 hours of community service in the Fall River area. He was not assessed any fines. Camara pled guilty in 2019 to extortion, conspiracy, and making false statements, and testified during Correia's trial in May.
Defense had recommended essentially the sentence that Judge Woodlock imposed, because this case was a little different than Tony Costa's case. Remember, in Tony Costa's case, as I recall, both the prosecution and the defense had an agreed recommendation, and the judge essentially went along with that recommendation. This case with Mr. Camara was a little bit different in that the prosecution had recommended 3 months of incarceration, and the defense had recommended a year and a half, 18 months of home confinement. So essentially what the judge did went along with the defense recommendation. Despite the fact that Mr. Camara was a public official, his crimes did not involve that public job that he had.
Attorney Saber says those still awaiting trial or sentencing, including the former mayor, his former chief of staff Jen Andrade, and co-conspirator David Hebert, will likely get different treatment from Judge Woodlock.
With regard to Mr. Correia and Jen Andrade, their situation's a lot different. They didn't cooperate. They're both public officials. Jasiel Correia has been convicted of 21 out of 24 charges. So their cases, I think are going to be different. Certainly, it's obvious Mr. Correia's case is going to be different. What's up in the air, so to speak, is Jen Andre's case. But from the judge's comments about this scheme with regard to the marijuana, and emphasizing that although Mr. Camaro was a public official, the crimes didn't involve his duties as that public official, whereas with Mr. Correia and Jen Andre, they do. So I think going forward, that'll be something to keep in mind.
Former Mayor Correia is scheduled to be sentenced on September 20th. The legislature's Special Joint Committee on Redistricting held a hearing this week for those within the Massachusetts 4th Congressional District. That district serves Fall River. The panel is tasked with reworking the boundaries of the 9 House districts in Congress, along with the House and Senate districts in the state legislature. Fall River is currently split between the districts of Congressman Jake Auchincloss and Congressman Bill Keating. Those testifying on Monday thought that unifying the city under one congressman would be a better option. Sophie Kripp from the Coalition for Social Justice says splitting the city between 2 congressional districts lessens its impact to make lasting change.
Because Fall River is currently split between congressional districts 4 and 9, this already marginalized community has even less power to make their voices heard. Currently, wards 4, 5, and 6 of the city are split along the 195 between congressional districts 4 and 9. And the population of these in these wards has approximately 32% people of color, which is twice as high as the populations of people of color in non-split wards. But our conversations with citizens of Fall River tell us that this divide creates confusion, not only on the part of voters, but also a diffusion of responsibility for representatives. This works often against accountability, something that is so important in democracy, especially for a large population of marginalized communities so present in Fall River.
Fall River resident Sandra Carrero says combining Fall River and New Bedford into the 9th district will pair together 2 similar working-class communities to the benefit of the South Coast.
All of Fall River is one community, whether we live in the Highlands, on Columbia Street, or on the north, on the 4 corners on the globe. You will find Portuguese bakeries, restaurants, clubs, and Portuguese churches all over these places that I just mentioned. Yet my community has been split to accommodate political boundaries. Or to use the right term, my community has been cracked. We can't vote for the same representative. Our political power is diluted, even though the needs of our community are the same. Regardless of where we live, we can't speak with one voice to make sure we get what we need. I am here asking you to end splitting of my community. We have more in common with the New Bedford community, who also has a very large working class Portuguese community, than we are connected to the Wesley or Brookline community. Members of the community, do what is right. Let Fall River speak with one voice and be part of a unified South Coast.
The special committee is still gathering testimony and will be making recommendations to redraw the congressional districts by the end of the year. We'll have more FRC Media News right after this.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot jobs list from the MassHire Fall River Career Center. Assistant Program Operations Manager. People Incorporated, located at 4 South Main Street, is in need of a full-time Assistant Program Operations Manager, responsible for assisting the Program Operations Manager in the overall functioning of assigned residential sites. Job number 151-45135. Regulatory Compliance Specialist. Mohawk Global Logistics Corporation, located at 421 Current Road, is looking for a full-time Regulatory Compliance Specialist, responsible for supporting process improvements, product classifications, and customs clearance procedures. Job number 151-67440. Operations Manager. JB Hunt Transport Incorporated is urgently hiring a full-time operations manager responsible for the oversight of a single site account or fleet, including support personnel and drivers in the Fall River area. Job number 151-759-57. Family Service Association, located at 101 Rock Street, has an immediate need for the following full and part-time positions. Administrative Assistant, job number 151-83578. Group Leader, job number 151-83584. Transportation Coordinator, job number 151-81797. Clinical Social Worker, job number 151-83582. For more information on these or other positions, visit MassHire JobQuest at jobquest.dcs.eol.mass.gov or call the MassHire Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Welcome back. A public meeting will be held next week to discuss extending the Alfred J. Lima Quequechan River Rail Trail. Sarah Labossiere of Mass in Motion Fall River says input will be sought to extend the trail behind LePage's Seafood to the Westport line and create an extension from Brayton Avenue along the South Watuppa Pond to the Atlantis Charter School.
With this extension, it will really start to bring the rail trail into the neighborhood so people can more easily leave their homes and access different parts of the city and get exercise. We can extend the length of the trail. It's a wonderful trail right now, almost 3 miles, but we want to extend it further for added benefit. It will help with transportation if people need to get to work or to school or on errands. And it will just increase the enjoyability of the area so that you can access the waterfront area in that way, where we can't right now in an easy fashion.
Labossiere says residents who frequent the trail often have ideas on how it can be better.
So many people love it, and the feedback we get most often is, can it be longer? Can it go into different parts of the city? So this is what we're trying to address. We want to make it accessible to the most number of people that live in the city as possible. A few other ideas I've just heard since talking about this meeting and talking about this extension. People have given us ideas about marking the trail for mileage so they know how far they've biked or walked. That's a great idea. People have wanted some interpretive signage. That's a great idea. We want to hear the ideas for not only extending it, but how to improve the trail as a whole.
The public meeting will be held this Tuesday from 5 to 7 p.m. in the atrium at Government Center. Finally, we have a story of veterans helping veterans. The U.S. Veterans Motorcycle Club of Bristol County and the Fall River chapter of the Sidewinders combined forces and sought volunteer help and donations to donate a vehicle to a veteran in need.
The individual that's receiving the car unfortunately doesn't have one. A Vietnam vet, and he has to get back to and from doctor's appointments. And to be in a country like this and having our veterans walk to, a place to get well, it doesn't sit well with us. So whenever we can get together and do this, we're happy to do it. And we're getting nothing in return. And we do this to better further the community.
I really need a car. I was bugging everybody for rides, and I don't like doing that. I like to keep to myself, but like you said, we have friends out there that are veterans, and they helped me out. I was going through a hard struggle for a while because I lost my wife 4 years ago.
Sorry to hear that.
I had a stroke, and everything went downhill. I had a beautiful car, and I had to give it up because I couldn't afford it, so I really appreciate this.
We'll wrap up FRC Media News right after this.
Hi, welcome to Hot Dogs and Cool Cats. Today we have Sassy. Sassy is a 9.5-year-old, all black, domestic short hair. We're profiling her today because she's been here for a while now. She is a very shy girl, as you can tell. She can be very sweet, but the whole time that she's been here at the shelter, it's just been so much on her. It definitely would do best in a house that's like quieter, ideally no children, or at least, quieter children, older children perhaps. It would probably be best if she was an only cat. Sassy she's actually been here since February. She's been here for 5 months now. We've been looking for a long time for a good home for her. If you folks think that you have what it takes and the interest, we would love to see you. So you can come on down to 300 Linwood Street in Fall River, Massachusetts, at Forever Paws Animal Shelter.
Today with us we have Lexi. She is a 5-year-old pit bull terrier. She is full of energy. She would do well in an active home. She does love to go for long walks, so she would make a great hiking partner if you like to go hiking. She does get along with other dogs. She definitely has a lot of energy. She is such a good girl and very smart. And for children, she would do good in a home with kids 12 and up. As you can see, she is a brindle, but I feel like she is a different kind of brindle. She's definitely unique and with that light color inside of her. Sit. Paw. Other paw. Good girl. Sit. Down. Good girl. If you want to meet Lexi, you can give us a call to make an appointment to visit with her. We are located at 300 Linwood Street in Fall River, Massachusetts. So make an appointment to come meet Lexi because I know she'd love to meet you.
That's all for this edition of FRC Media News. Please check out our website at frmedia.org for all the latest news and information. FRC Media News airs Thursdays at 6 p.m. and Fridays at 5:30 p.m. For all of us here at FRC Media News, I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Thursday.